Good evening. I just want to go over a couple of things that users have given me as feedback, a couple of questions they had about setting up the project, and go over three of the most common errors people are getting when trying to actually run the project. The most common question I got was how to email me, when that is dean@advovet.com, which I'm showing here, and where is the SVN, and it is right here. Now what you need to make sure of on the SVN is that wherever you are, that you have permission to get to port 81 in and out. You're not going to be checking in code. I'm the only one that can check in code changes, but if you have ideas or you have code to contribute, send it to dean@advovet.com and I'll take a look at it and we'll put it in here. So that will cover the first part of it. That's how you can contact me. So let's jump right into the project. Once you get it downloaded from SVN, and it's not sensitive to where you put it on your hard drive, the only thing you want to make sure of is that when you do put it on your computer, that you have administrative rights to that folder. That should be pretty self-explanatory. So whatever place you normally put your Visual Studio 12 projects, make sure this is there as well. Okay, so let's get into the three problems people are running into when trying to run this. The first one is they say that, and it's true because I've been able to duplicate it, that there are times if I go in here and I go to debug and I go to start without debugging, that the Windows form comes up like it should, and they go to load and they get an error that says there's no endpoint. Now this one's going to work, but they say there's no endpoint listening at, and it gives you a URL. This happens when you're running on your local machine. How do you know if you're running on your local machine? Let's go to the Windows Forms UI project, the app.config file, and it's in this section, CSLA Data Portal Proxy. Okay? You'll see right now that I am running on a real server, which you do have access to, but I'm going to remark this line out. So it's not using this one anymore, and instead I'm going to tell it to go get my local one. CSLA Data Portal URL, localhost, so that we know that means local, port 2185, and a service name WCF portal service.svc. Now we can find that in the IIS host file, WCF portal.svc, and we just tell it it's type CSLA server host WCF portal. We'll get into why we do this later. Just you've got to trust me on the CSLA part. This is what we have to do. Okay, so I'm going to debug. We'll see if it happens to me. I don't know if it will or not. It shouldn't, but we'll see. We're going to go in here and we're going to hit load, and it brought it up. So we're good to go. Now what you get if you're seeing the error is there's no endpoint listening, blah blah blah. The way to get around that is to do two checks. Number one is, first, make sure you click at property level or at project level, IIS host. We're going to right click and we're going to go down to properties, and it will bring up the IIS host properties. Make sure apply to all users is checked. Make sure that the bullet for use local IIS web server is checked. Use Express, and make sure that this URL matches the URL from your Windows Form project in the app.config right here, the first part of it. Now, this WCF portal is just a subdocument in that directory, so this isn't magic. I mean, it's basic ASP.NET stuff, web stuff for all that, all that goes. Just make sure that this part of it matches this. If it still doesn't work, then your IIS isn't spinning up on its own. Okay? So what we'll do is we will go in here and I'm going to cheat. You're going to highlight WCF portal. You're going to right click on it. You're going to go down to view in browser. And I'm going to minimize this because it got bigger than my screen. All you will see is you'll see the WCF service running. If you get an error, there's something wrong with your computer's IIS web server. You need to make sure you have ASP.NET installed and configured on your machine. You need to make sure you have the latest .NET 4 and 4.5 frameworks. And you need to make sure that you have the ability to host websites on your machine. You should if you're a local admin, but I would check that. If not, or if you run into any problems during this project, email me. I have a commercial TeamViewer license. I'll be happy to connect to you and your computer, and we'll see if we can figure it out together. Because the purpose here is to spread the word about good project design, good program design, and CSLA. Not super advanced. I mean, we're just going to go over what it is and how to do it. So, okay, so I'm going to close this. It's running. And then you would just go to debug start without debugging, and it would work. Because we know the web server's running because it hosted up that page. It'll run for some time. You might see it come back in 10 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever. Just rebrowse that page. I don't have to do it because once I change those properties, and I remember if you watch the first video, I said you had to do it. Well, I found a better way to keep that from happening, and that was by changing these settings, and it would spool it up on its own. So that covers the no endpoint listening error. Now, if we are running, and we'll go back to our Windows Form UI app.config file, which is here. If you are running, I'm going to switch it back to a real live server of mine. Just moving the remarks around, telling it now go out to this real URL and use the service. I'm going to save it. You can edit and save documents in your local, you just can't check them into the SVN server. You can get an error when you run like this. Now first I'm going to show you it does work, and then I'm going to show you how to break it. Then I'm going to show you how to fix it. I'm going to go start without debugging to make sure that the remote portal is working. I'm going to load up number 1. It's actually going to go out on the internet, hit the real WCF service, and it's going to throw an error. Okay, so it's not working. This is the error a lot of people are seeing, and it's because of clock time variances and how sensitivity of the server and the client that's trying to call its time. It says that the maximum skew allowed is 5 minutes. So that means that my computer time is plus or minus 5 minutes from the server time. Well, how do you fix that? Well, you don't know what the server time is. You can go to the atomic clock, and we hope they've got it synced with the atomic clock, blah, blah, blah. Historically, I know that this machine that I'm running on, I sit here and tinker and test and change it. I usually go 5 minutes plus or minus one way. I'm going to advance the time 5 minutes, and I'm going to load it, and there, see how it works. So now we're within 5 minutes. The server and the client are happy. It sends me the data to prove that we're right. We're going to go back in here, and we're going to bring the time in here. We're going to click change date and time. We're going to click the minutes. We're going to reduce it by 5. We're going to hit OK. We're going to hit OK. And we're going to try to load number 2. And it blew up. Right? And it tells you what the current time is on your machine versus the current time on the server. So you could really get technical if you wanted to. So I'm going to change this back. It's a little repetitive. You might be tired of watching it, but I have to fix it. So let's go. I saw it said it was 45, so that's just what we'll do. Let's load up number 2. And there they are. Everything's happy. So that's the second error people are seeing. I'm going to close this. Now, the final error that I'm hearing people are seeing is if you are in a work environment or you are behind a proxy server of any kind, first make sure you can get on the internet, because you're going to have to be on the internet to connect to this outside portal. Now, you don't have to be on the internet. I'm assuming you downloaded the source code, but you don't have to be on the internet to run with the local proxy. But assuming you are running an actual server here, you need to make sure that your proxy settings from your Internet Explorer or Chrome or some other browser are taken into consideration. So just check your app.config and go down here to, we're going to go, let me find where it is. It's the default proxy, and it is right here. Default proxy, use default credentials equals true. This line in your config file will tell the system that go out and get your default credentials from wherever your internet settings are and apply them. The screen you'll see if you're unsuccessful is failure to authenticate. Because right now in the WCF service we're not authenticating, so it's not the WCF end server. It's your proxy server trying to get out to it. Okay? So just make sure this is in there, set to true just like this. It should be, but we all know not everything is as it should be all the time. So that covers the 3 big ones. So hopefully this helps you get started. If you do have problems, again, you can contact me here. You can get the code. You can email me. If you still can't get it running, we'll set up a TeamViewer session. I'll connect, and we'll see if we can get it running on your local machine. If you have ideas or input, please feel free to email me, dean@advovet.com. Have a great evening.